Hey there, so on my previous video I got some comments from people who said that the reason they don't like to call themselves atheists is simply because atheist is a word that only says something about what you don't believe in. So instead they prefer to use labels which describe what they are rather than what they're not. Personally, I just fail to see how this matters in any way because we do use this kind of labels all the time. Labels like non-smoker or non-drinker or non-user or straight edge if you never do any of these things. You don't ever take any mind-altering substances at all. You can call yourself celibate if you actively choose not to have sex, vegetarian if you don't eat meat, and if you have no desire or intention to ever have children, like myself, you can label yourself child-free. Now, I am someone who's not afraid of labels, and I know a lot of people are scared of them. They associate labels with having group mentality and being a sheep and all that nonsense, which to me it's really ridiculous. It's basically you letting yourself being pwned by language instead of owning it. If there is a word out there which describes something specific about me, and whether it is something about what I am or what I am not, then I find that word useful. And I don't care about the baggage it has or what other people may mistakenly associate with it. That's their own problem, not mine. Now, having said all this, while it is true that being an open atheist, for instance, will probably attract some misjudgment, I can honestly say that the amount of prejudice I have gotten for being a child-free female and openly embracing this label is yet to be matched. This is just a sample of what I constantly have to deal with. And I mean from family, friends, people I just met, people online, from all different backgrounds, believers, non-believers, what have you.
Not wanting to have children is just a phase. You will grow out of it.
I have a question for everybody who ever said this to me. Why is it that you don't assume the same thing when somebody says they want to have children? Because that kind of thing happens too, you know? When wanting to have children is just a phase, and then you grow out of it, but oops, it's too late. So you're young and maybe you're in love and you think that having a baby will be the most wonderful, precious thing. But then a little time goes by and you realize that this baby is not exactly a thing for you to just have and enjoy. It's another person who has needs all the time. And it's your full-time job now to take care of it. You have to change smelly diapers all the time, they scream all night and you cannot sleep, they get sick and you have to pay doctors, they need new clothes every month, you're always broke and tired and miserable, your sex drive is gone, your relationship is going downhill. Before you know it, you're daydreaming about your old life. Which, by the way, you'll never ever get back again because holy fucking shit, you got yourself a kid to raise now. For real. By the way, there's no need for you to make a list now with all the joys of having a child. I'm not denying that there are good things that come with parenting as well. And sometimes the good things make it all worth it. But not always. Not for everyone. What people don't talk about is that the contrary thing happens too sometimes. Probably more often than you think. So maybe you should be more concerned with the people who are going through a phase of wanting children than with those who don't. After all, if I do change my mind at some point, I can still become a parent by adopting. But if they change their mind, they cannot just decide to not be a parent anymore. Not without leaving a whole world of hurt behind them.
Oh, but I must have biological children. I need to spread my genes because the world needs more people like me.
You're not making a replica of yourself, a little clone that's gonna be just like you. You are making a whole new person who may end up being somewhat like you, but it also may end up being nothing like you. Think of all the people you admire, all the geniuses who were born into average families, all the exceptional people whose children are nothing but mediocre, all the great musicians and painters and doctors and scientists whose kids are not remarkable in any way. All the good-hearted, kind, gentle people whose kids turn out to be assholes. All the human rights activists out there whose parents are bigoted jerks. If your decision to have biological children is based on you banking that they will resemble you on anything more than a purely physical, superficial level, then you may want to think twice about it. The only thing you can have 100% full control over is what education you yourself provide for them. But other than that, whether they are your biological or adopted children, you will not be able to control the education, the values, and the goals they will ultimately decide to embrace themselves. You will maybe try to, but in the end you will never be able to control that.
If you consider biological determinism, it is still your duty to procreate.
You know, when religious people say it's your duty to be fruitful and multiply, I can just tell them to go choke on a crucifix. But when non-believers make the exact same argument, just justifying it in a different way. I'm like, dude, seriously? What is the value in having this consciousness and rational mind if we choose to remain slaves to our biology? Why? Just out of principle? Go choke on a fossil.
You don't want to have children because you are selfish.
There is some truth to that. Can't deny it, really. I mean, I love babies and small children. I think they're adorable and I do enjoy taking care of them when I have the opportunity to, but after they grow up some more, I mean, they're gonna need you to do homework with them, and then they get in trouble at school. Then they get bullied for being different, or even worse, they start bullying other kids for not being like them. And then they get to be teenagers and thus become ungrateful, annoying assholes. Then they get these atrocious haircuts, dress weird, start listening to horrible loud music, and then they hang out with kids you really, really hate, start doing drugs, accidentally get pregnant, join some fucked up cult. Like, dude, I don't need that shit. I like my life the way it is. I love the freedom, the independence I have. I don't want to trade that. And you know, the people who are going through this and end up not liking the experience so much. I'm not saying that, you know, they don't love their children. They probably love them so much they would never admit that being a parent ended up being more of a burden than a reward. Nobody can just say out loud, I wish my son was never born. Not without being seen as basically evil. And probably feeling that way too for saying that. But these people do exist. And they're not horrible, evil people. They are normal people just like you who happened to make a decision which right now they regret. But as it happens, this is the one decision that's so irreversible and the consequences are so huge that you're not even allowed to wallow in regret. The only thing you can do is try your hardest to make the best of it. That's the only acceptable option.
But you see, unlike you, I basically gave up my life to take care of another. That's admirable. You should praise me for it.
Aww, shut the front door. When you decided to become a parent, you did so because of your own selfish reasons. You want a child because you want to leave a part of you behind, leave some legacy, validate your existence. Because you feel that you're so full of epic awesomeness that you just must spread your genes. Even if in reality there's nothing special to it, it's pretty much what every member of every species has done since the beginning of life. You're not blessing the planet, yo. And then there's the people who have children because they want somebody to take care of them when they're old. And believe it or not, there are also people who don't even really want children but have them anyway because they give in to peer pressure. And I'm mostly talking about women here, because apparently a woman's worth lies in her uterus. For the record, uttering that just made me gag. There are also those who decide to have children because they think that will somehow fix their lives. They do it for alimony, child support reasons, because of state benefits. Some do it because they think a child will save their relationship somehow. And I'm gagging again. Point is, nobody decides to have a kid for purely altruistic reasons. That's impossible. It's impossible because when you decide to create a new life, there's absolutely no way you can guarantee its happiness. I mean, probably everybody thinks that their kids will be smart and kind and talented and happy, and yet there are a lot of people who end up committing suicide, or get horrible terminal illnesses, or become rapists, or murderers, or Justin Bieber fans. Ugh. You simply cannot predict what kind of life your kid will have. What you're doing is taking a risk and hoping for the best. Personally, I don't want to take that risk. The way I see it, it would not just be a risk I would take on myself, but I would be gambling with the life of another person who never asked to be born, and in a world with over 7 billion people doesn't exactly need to be born either.
But if everybody thought like this, then nobody would procreate, and the entire human race would go extinct.
To me, this is as pointless as the dumbass argument that if everybody was gay, the human race would die. It's a hypothetical scenario that means absolutely nothing because it describes a reality which will never be. Most people don't even think about these things before popping a kid out. I am child-free, and the point of this video is to tell you that it's not my position you should be worried about.